इनोवेशंस और आइडियाज़ यानी कि नवाचार और विचार जब मिलते हैं तो आगे का रास्ता तय होता है। क्लाइमेट चेंज यानी जलवायु परिवर्तन के प्रभाव को लेकर हम सब क्या कर सकते हैं, कुछ लोगों ने ये सोचा ही नहीं बल्कि करके दिखाया है। हम सबको ये बता रहे हैं कि अगर मंशा है तो समाधान भी मिल जाता है। मेरे साथ ही एक बेहद खास पैनल जिनका काम ही समाधान की तरफ है। कार्तिकेय हरियाणी 4 जोन के सीईओ हैं और फाउंडर भी। पंकज कुमार को फाउंडर एंड डायरेक्टर कॉन्सोलर और मोनीश श्रीपुरापू एंड स्टूडियोज के फाउंडर। आप तीनों का स्वागत है इस मंच पर और इस मिशन से जुड़ने के लिए बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया। आप सभी का काम हम सबको प्रेरित करता है, मोटिवेट करता है, इंस्पायर करता है। तो आप सभी से कॉमन सवाल ये, शुरुआत आपसे कार्तिकेय, कि क्यों सोचा कि सस्टेनेबल बिजनेस प्लान की शुरुआत की जाए?
शुरुआत इस तरह से हुई। एक बैकग्राउंड देना चाहता हूँ। एज चार्जोन वी आर एन ईवी चार्जिंग नेटवर्क कंपनी। वी आर इंडिया सेकेंड लार्जेस्ट high speed EV charging network in the country. In fact, you can drive from Amritsar to Chennai using your electric car without any range anxiety using our network. अभी शुरुआत हुई 5 साल पहले जब एक डेटा पॉइंट हमें मिला। As a country, we have an import bill of $200 billion to import crude oil for petrol and diesel. Right? And then we realized that if by 2030, if 30% of new vehicles they become electric, so import bill can be reduced by roughly $40 billion, which is equivalent to the education budget and healthcare budget of India. And यदि हम ये अचीव कर पाएंगे तो ये बजट का समाधान भी रिकरिंग बेसिस पे रहेगा. It's not that it's a one-time saving. Everybody is aware that if we are able to do an emission-free society, यदि पोल्यूशन यदि फ्री नहीं कर सकते तो पोल्यूशन को घटा जरूर सकते या कोशिश कर सकते. इन दोनों आयाम से शुरुआत हुई 4 जोन की एज एन ईवी चार्जिंग कंपनी और उस हिसाब से ये सस्टेनेबल मिशन में हम लोग आगे बढ़ रहे हैं. थैंक यू.
Motivating and inspiring, but what motivated you, Pankaj, to start Consoler?
Yeah, first of all, thank you so much for inviting me. It's such a wonderful session here. We are trying to do something to solve some problems. And Government of India has a very big mission actually. The mission is to develop solar plants, non-fossil energy of almost 500 gigawatt scale in the next, say, 8 to 10 years. And for that, we need huge tract of land. We need in lakhs and lakhs of acres of land actually. So India being a agricultural driven economy, we don't have that kind of land. And if we have, the challenges of aggregating the land is huge. And what we are blessed with is that we have thousands and thousands of water bodies. Like we have big dams, lakes, reservoirs, catchment areas, ponds. So why not to utilize those unused water surface to set up the solar plants? And from there that idea came almost 7 to 8 years ago. Myself and Siddhant Agarwal, both we are alumnus of IIT Kharagpur, and we started working on it, tried to understand what are the challenges, how to address those challenges, and we developed some concept. We started with a very a humble beginning. We had a small 10 kilowatt project in a remote village of Assam, and we just to test that. We had a good support from IIT Guwahati that point of time. And we managed to do it. And for the first time, the community, the local community got electricity from that floating solar plant. And that was a turning point for us actually, to do something on a very big scale. And
ये अपने आप में एक यूनिक आइडिया किसने सोचा होगा? हम आमतौर पर सोलर एनर्जी पैनल्स घर की छतों पर, लैंड पर देखते हैं, लेकिन कौन सोलर के पैनल्स पानी में फ्लोट करते हैं.
जी.
मोनीश, यहाँ पर मौजूद ऑडियंस और हमारे टीवी के दर्शक सभी सोचेंगे कि बिना एयर कंडीशनर के, बिना हीटर्स के तो हमारा गुजारा नहीं है, ख़ासतौर से शहरी लोग. ऐसे में आपको क्या लगा कि इसके बिना हम आराम से रह सकते हैं और इसके लिए सॉल्यूशंस हैं आपके पास? ये आपको कब एहसास हुआ?
देखिए, एयर कंडीशनर सिर्फ पिछले 1902 में पहली बार इन्वेंट हुआ है. उससे पहले हज़ारों साल तक एयर कंडीशनर्स नहीं थे. वी लर्न हाउ टू लिव विदाउट एयर कंडीशनर्स फॉर hundreds of years. एंड अभी हो क्या रहा है कि जैसे ट्रेडिशनली अगर देखा जाए तो इफ़ यू ट्रैवल फ्रॉम वन प्लेस टू अनदर इन इंडिया आर्किटेक्चरली विल सी दैट locally buildings were made at one point of time, and at this point what's happening is that पहले हम सोचते हैं कि हर जगह पे एक बिल्डिंग बना देंगे like a box, फिर उसको किसी तरीके से एनर्जी ट्रैप करके then we'll try to cool that. And but traditionally it is possible that we can live without air conditioners for at least 70% of the year minimum. Currently जिस तरीके से नया बिल्डिंग्स बनते हैं उसमें सिर्फ 20% of the time we can live without air conditioners. The rest of the 80% we have to depend on energy. So with the help of traditional techniques and low energy solutions, कोशिश यही है कि क्या उस 20% को can we push at minimum up to 70% so that हम एयर कंडीशनर के ऊपर डिपेंडेंसी कम
मनीष, हमारे ऑडियंस की सहूलियत के लिए, हमारे दर्शकों की सहूलियत के लिए बताइए कि एंड जो स्टूडियोज़ है करता क्या है, क्या बनाता है?
we are working in the domain of low energy cooling solutions, जिससे कि जैसे बिल्डिंग का जो envelopes है and which means the external envelope जो भी है, so it helps, I mean it transfers the heat inside, and if we can design the envelopes in such a manner कि जो heat अंदर बिल्डिंग के अंदर आ रही है उसको किसी तरीके से अगर if we can reduce it, तो जो naturally जो dependency है उसको हम एयर कंडीशनिंग डिपेंडेंसी कम कर सकता है. And also with the help of other traditional systems like natural ventilation and passive cooling and all of that, हम बिल्डिंग के परफॉर्मेंस को वी कैन इंक्रीज. सो वी आर इन द डोमेन वेयर वी आर ट्राइंग टू एजुकेट पीपल अराउंड पैसिव डिजाइन स्ट्रैटेजीज वेयर इन ओवरऑल एनर्जी एंड ऑल्सो हाउ वी कैन इंक्रीज द डे लाइटिंग, हाउ वी कैन हेल्प इन चूजिंग द राइट मटीरियल्स, कॉन्शियसली किस तरीके का मटीरियल्स पिक करना चाहिए जिससे बिल्डिंग का जो एनर्जी नीड्स को हम कम कर सकते हैं. एंड विद द हेल्प ऑफ सिस्टम्स लाइक दिस वेयर ईयर में वी हैव टू ब्रिंग द कूलिंग नीड लाइक आई सेड बाय एटलीस्ट 70%. दैट्स द आइडिया.
कार्तिकेय, इनोवेशंस के बाद आता है इम्प्लीमेंटेशन, और अगर स्केल बड़ा करना है तो बहुत ज़्यादा मेहनत करनी पड़ती है. तो क्या अनुभव रहा है जब आप एक से दूसरे चार्जिंग जोन की तरफ बढ़े?
So it is always said that inspiration is only 1%, but 99% is perspiration, right? So innovation के बाद implementation is equivalent to a strategy versus execution. Yeah. So एक आइडिया आना 5 साल पहले वो एक अलग बात थी हमारे लिए कि हमने कहा कि कोई बात नहीं, इलेक्ट्रिक व्हीकल्स लोग खरीदेंगे तो चार्जिंग कहाँ करेंगे, रेंज एंजाइटी बढ़ सकती है, इसलिए 4 जोन का जन्म हुआ. नाउ दैट वाज एन आइडिया विच वाज स्टार्टेड विद अ वेरी सिंपल प्रेमाइस दैट दिस ईवी चार्जिंग स्टेशन विल बी अनमैन्ड, it will be at the right location, it also needs renewable energy, it also needs reliability and so on. तो उसके बाद शुरुआत हुई कि अनमैन्ड करेंगे तो वैसे तो पेट्रोल पंप पे तो आपको पेट्रोल पंप अटेंडेंट मिल जाते हैं, क्या इंडियन कस्टमर सेल्फ सर्विस करेगा वेर यू ड्राइव द कार टू चार्जिंग स्टेशन, खुद कार से निकल के चार्जिंग गन लगा के खुद चार्ज करेंगे. सो लाइकवाइज मैनी आइडियाज़ स्टार्टेड कमिंग ऑन द टेबल. एक कैनवास हमने खड़ा किया, उस पर हमने लिखना शुरू किया. But today, when we have more than 4,000 plus charging points in the country between north, west, and south, on the eastern part, we are largely present in Kolkata. We also have electrified more than 30,000 kilometers of highways. This was all driven by innovation of process, innovation by implementing the right technology, innovation by saying that, fine, if we have to solve reliability, then you have to get a battery as energy storage, we have to get solar microgrids, and so on and so forth. But what comes later is implementation, as you said, or execution. And that's a real game, because just like एक solar plant खड़ा करते, वो शायद आप जैसे एक 1 gigawatt का plant आप कोई बहुत बड़े desert में खड़ा कर सकते हो, आप करीब 200-300 इंजीनियर्स लगा के वो प्लांट खड़ा कर सकते हो 6 महीने में, 1 साल में. बट टू पुट 1000 चार्जिंग पॉइंट्स अक्रॉस द हाईवे इज़ अ वेरी डिफरेंट बॉल गेम, एंड देयरफॉर द कॉम्प्लेक्सिटी ऑफ एग्जीक्यूशन increases because it is a decentralized way of doing the things. But at the end of the day, an EV charging business that we are into, it's a combination of brick and mortar, means classical electrical engineering, little bit of mechanical, civil engineering, etc. Also, it is a business of strategic partnerships. And finally, the technology that makes an EV charging seamless or a very smooth experience for the EV customers. So yes, it is far more challenging because of the decentralized network across various locations.
Pankaj, sustainable innovations and sustainable thinking. Is there an acceptability? उसका स्वीकार करने की जो मंशा रहती है लोगों में है वो कि लोग आसानी से कुछ नई चीज़ को एक्सेप्ट कर पाते हैं?
You asked a very pertinent question actually. We have gone through it, so I'll share my experience. हमने 8 साल पहले सोचा था फ्लोटिंग सोलर के बारे में, लेकिन 2 साल हमको लग गया इम्प्लीमेंट करने में. And the reason being that for 2 years we kept talking to almost all the government bodies across the country, almost all the states, all the cement plants, all the oil refineries and all, but nobody believed in this thing actually, because nobody had seen that. And we believed in it. We always believed that it will work, it should work, because it is solving multiple problems. Like, एक तो ये आपका land save कर रहा है, फिर ये water save कर रहा है, it's conserving water by containing evaporation. हमने ये भी पढ़ा था कि there is a particular temperature at which solar panels performs best, that is around 25 degrees centigrade. And because of the ambient temperature of the water body, the performance is the best actually. सारे benefits थे, but it took almost 2 years to convince anybody to get the first pilot project. And somehow one gentleman gave it a boost कि ठीक है इसको करते हैं, with all the gut feeling. So it takes a lot of perseverance and to implement the first of the technology. But once it is done, like once it was done with ONGC, we did the first big scale project. We did with what municipal organization in Visakhapatnam. Then everybody started adopting it. And today you'll be very glad to know that more than a gigawatt scale of floating solar projects are happening in India. So our efforts was a part of it, I'm sure, but it is a big pleasure actually.
Yeah, so moving ahead, sustainable innovations is also considered a niche market, it's expensive, people think ये हमारे लिए नहीं है. Did you also face all of that? Your innovations were easily accepted?
No, definitely the perception around innovation is always that anything that's new is expensive.
Like a niche market,
It's a niche market. But in my case, the challenge is something else. It's not something new, because I think we are rushing towards innovation and trying to always create something new always. But it's not true. In our case, when we look at how systems have worked in the past, we are talking about traditional systems, and where we are saying that sometimes we have to take one step backwards and look at how things have worked locally. For instance, like if you're talking about Andhra Pradesh, Vizag ki jo baat kar rahe the, or Rajasthan and all these places, how traditionally buildings have worked, and educate people and okay, this is the way buildings should be in that particular areas, how the building should work, and said that how can we then improvise on top of that, rather than saying ki innovation and new systems, we have to copy something that is Western and then try to bring it here and think that, because there is a general perception around people that kuch bhi naya hai. Everybody aspires to make something like, which is, let's say in a village, they want to make a house like of a city. And the cities, everybody, all the politicians then come and say that, hum Singapore banayenge. And the problem with that is that you're trying to create something that is not ours. Rather, the moral has to be that, for people saying, okay, this is how our culture is, this is how we used to take it locally in all these places, and how can we then further improvise upon that and whatever it takes to make it happen. So I think in my case, what we are trying to say people is that, okay, innovation is one part. Let's go back a little bit and try to see how systems have worked and then try to improvise upon that.
So improvisation and innovation needs money. Like if we talk about money, do you feel there is more to be done at policy level, at government level to facilitate these kind of innovations which you three are leading by example?
So I've learned in my entrepreneurial journey that there is a hard work, there is passion, but access to capital. Yeah, that's the third most important part for any entrepreneur or for any idea to get realized in terms of a commercial or viable business. So it is clear that any innovation requires the brightness of the mind and the brightness of the talent, as well as various institutional support, to translate those ideas into reality. We often say that why Google can't be born in India, or why innovative companies like Boeing or Airbus are not born in India. But let's also understand that there are many countries. If I tell you that one of the biggest business jet company in the world is not an American, but it's a Brazilian company called Embraer, it shows that when the institutional support, government policies, and the relevant initiatives and innovators, when they come together, magic happens. This we have seen in some of our neighboring countries, like China, for example. Earlier it was Japan and South Korea. These are some of these Asian countries and Asian giants which has thrived on innovation and less on the market. Many times our country is targeted as a market. If you really see, most of the statements which comes from global MNCs is that India bahut bada market hai. Well, therefore we are fed with probably all kind of products, good, bad, best. But it is also clear that if we don't support our homegrown or grassroots innovation, as a country, it is difficult to become self-reliant in many industry that we aspire for or government aspires for.
कार्तिकेय, आपने ग्रीन मोबिलिटी, ई मोबिलिटी के मार्केट को टैप किया, अपना बिजनेस बनाया. ऐसे में ई मोबिलिटी को लेकर, क्योंकि अगर हम दुनिया भर की टॉप 10 प्रदूषित शहरों की लिस्ट में देखें तो उसमें भारत के कई शहरों के नाम आते हैं. ऐसे में चुनौतियां हैं, ख़ास तौर से ई मोबिलिटी को लेकर हमारे देश में. आप क्या सोचेंगे?
So challenges, चुनौतियाँ काफ़ी है. Now let's also step back a bit. हम एनर्जी की बात की तो it is clear that the economy is running on various forms of energy. The consumption of petrol and diesel is en masse due to logistics and other industrial requirements. But when we talk about electric mobility, I think it's time to get very serious. Because as I said, if our import bill is $200 billion per year, and it is increasing by the year, because economic growth होती है तो vehicles बढ़ते हैं, logistic की requirement बढ़ती है, and so on. But electric mobility हम बात करें तो electric mobility का जो real fuel है, that fuel is electricity, which can be produced in India. We are blessed with solar and wind, and therefore the source of power, or electricity as we call it, which is a basic fuel for e-mobility ecosystem, is produced here in India. Second part is the काफ़ी डिस्कशन आता है कि भाई लिथियम आयन बैटरीज तो यूज़ हो रही है, तो लिथियम यहाँ प्रोड्यूस नहीं हो रहा है, उसको इंपोर्ट किया जा रहा है. बात सही है आपकी. वैसे तो ऑयल एंड गैस यानी क्रूड ऑयल भी हम इंपोर्ट कर रहे हैं, लेकिन जब इंपोर्ट करने के बाद जब हम यूज़ करते हैं वो धुआं बन जाता है. बट लिथियम इंपोर्ट करेंगे तो वो यहीं रहता है. इट स्टेज इन आवर कंट्री विच कैन बी रिसाइकल्ड. सो these are some of the industry observations or let's say opinions that comes in. But when you talk about the first and foremost challenge out here is that government has already created the policy framework. It is for the industry now to step up the game and introduce very competitive products.
Take initiative and practice the best practices. Thank you so much, all three of you. You are leading by examples. You are the innovators of India, and you inspire and motivate everybody. Thank you. Thank you so much for this conversation.
Thank you very much.